Hey neighbors, welcome back to Simple Sanctuary Garden. My name is Sarah and we are talking about chickens again today. Today we are going to be talking about feed. This is the argument that I see come up most frequently when people are like, with the rising cost of feed, you can't afford chickens. And that's not true for me. So I wanted to talk to you about feed and feeding the chickens, what all that looks like, and then I'll show you my setup and what I do to help me cut some cost. When you're going about figuring out what to feed your chickens, you need to basically figure out what your feed philosophy is. And a lot of that goes into why you're keeping chickens in the first place. So if your main concern is not nutrition, simply cost, you're going to be fine. There are very cheap feeds out there. You don't have to worry about it. We started keeping chickens as a means to feed ourselves better. And so I really wanted to limit the amount of soy that we take in. I also wanted to limit the amount of pesticides in our diet. So we tend to lean organic. I also wanted to limit GMOs, the typical crunchy woman who has backyard chickens kind of thing. Now, when you go down that route with feed, it can get expensive, especially if you get certified organic feed. The feed I use is called, I have my notes here because I'm going to forget something. So it's by Nutrena. It's NatureWise Hardy Hen. It's a 40-pound bag. And it is not certified organic, but if you look at the ingredients, the vast majority of them are organic. Since most of the ingredients are, I'm very comfortable with it. It is also a soy-free feed, and it's non-GMO. So pretty well hits all of my buttons. Now, the price of that bag of feed has gone up about $4 since I started giving it to the girls. But the thing is, with 5 ladies, a 40-pound bag of feed goes really, really far. The other thing that I give them is what we call scratch, and that's like cracked corns, peas, wheat, things that they can scratch at and peck at. I hope that I'm pronouncing this right. Dumor, D-U-M-O-R. It's a 6-grain non-GMO feed. You can look at it and see what all of the different things are. It doesn't have too high a percentage of corn. So that is a 35-pound bag. Its price has also gone up about $2, so it is $15.79 now, which for all the costs that I'm about to go through you with, I'm rounding the cost of both of those up to $20 for the regular feed and $16 for the scratch. This lasts my girls a very long time, and for 2 reasons. One, you see this whole chicken pen behind me. That is a lot of space for 5 ladies. Even if I had another 7, which I do hope to get soon, and had a full 12 ladies, that is a lot of space for those chickens. And so what that does is give them a lot of space to forage. There's tons of bugs they can scratch around. I have seen them decimate some lizards. I'm in Florida, there's lizards all the time. You can actually probably see them scratching behind me now. They get bugs out the wazoo, and that is a huge supplement to their feed, which cuts down on the amount that they need. Another thing that I do is soak and ferment their scratch. And what that does is make it a lot easier for them to digest. It makes the nutrients in that scratch a lot more bioavailable for them. It also adds nutritional value. Anytime you ferment something, it adds nutritional value to the food, which is helpful for them. So by giving them a more probiotic-rich diet, that's going to strengthen their immune system. So because I ferment their scratch, it actually kind of expands the amount of space it takes up. It makes them feel fuller. They're getting more nutrients out of it. They actually end up eating less when it's soaked and fermented than if I just gave it to them straight. So I am able to buy 1 bag of feed and 1 bag of scratch on average about every 10 weeks. So they last me more than a month, which is wild. When I was first starting and not doing this, I was going through a bag of each every 4 weeks. So I have really stretched that out. And I love the fact that I've not only stretched that out and saved money, but I'm giving them something that's even better for them at the same time. Now, what that cost comes out to look like over the 10-week period, I am paying about $3.60 per week to feed my chickens. Okay, $3.60 per week to feed my chickens. That is already lower than a dozen eggs in most parts of the country. All right, if you divide that out, because it's winter, I'm only getting 3 eggs roughly a day. It's coming out to about, for right now, about 17 cents an egg, which is roughly $2 a dozen. So just based on my feed costs, not talking about all those historic costs, I am paying about $2 a dozen for eggs right now. Now, what you are probably interested in is seeing my setup and potentially how I ferment the feed. So let's go look at that. Hello again, friends, and welcome to my feed setup. So as you can see, I have 2 old trash cans behind me, and this is where I store their feed and their scratch. It's very dignified. I strongly recommend the trash can method because chickens attract mice, and if you just have your bag sitting on your back porch, your bag of feed and your bag of scratch, they're gonna smell it and they're gonna get into it. You can see that even with the trash can, little mousers have tried to get into this. They failed. But eventually this plastic trash can will be upgraded to a metal one like this, hopefully one that fully shuts. But it keeps the mice out. I also have 2 other important feeding tools. You probably have these around the house. This is the scoop that I use for the pellet feed. It is a to-go soup container that I washed out and cleaned. I use these for friggin' everything. They are amazing. This is what I'll add like a scoop to their feeder if it gets low or when it gets low. I ferment their feed in old Chobani yogurt containers. So I will fill it. Actually, this one's empty, so I'll show you. And all I do is get a little scoop of it. I'll get the container about half full. And then all I do to ferment the scratch is cover it with water. I make sure that there is a good like 1/2 inch to 1 inch of water above the feed. I'll also add 3 to 4 drops of oregano essential oil just to help with, I actually don't remember what that's supposed to help with. Hold on. Okay. I had to double check what it was. It helps with their gut microbiome as well. So in addition to the probiotics from the fermented food, the oregano helps support that as well. So I add 3 to 4 drops of oregano essential oil in there and stir it all up. You want to stir it every day. You want to make sure that water stays over the top of it. After 1 day, it's just soaked. You can go ahead and feed that to your chickens. After 2 days, it's starting to ferment, but it's probably an active fermentation and slightly alcoholic. You can still give that to your chickens. They just probably shouldn't drive. It's really the 3 to 4 days of fermenting where you hit the sweet spot. It's easy to get going. I have 3 or 4 of those yogurt containers and I just keep them going in a cycle with numbered lids so that I know which one to give the ladies next. So thank you for joining me today. That is my feed setup. That was a lot to talk about for something that is essentially pretty straightforward, but it does feel very daunting. When you're first getting into chickens, there's 100 feed options and everybody online is willing to yell at you for whichever option you have a question about. This is a yell-free zone. We're going to be continuing this series over the next few weeks. We're going to be talking about coop maintenance. We're going to be talking about how much it costs to have a coop or to shelter your chickens, among many, many other things that are not popping into my head right now, but they will. If you have questions about keeping chickens in your suburban backyard and how to do that in a cost mindful way, not necessarily budget, but just, being aware of what you're spending, please leave those questions below. If you have not subscribed already, please be sure to do so and ring that bell so that you'll know when the next chicken video is up. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. We'll talk soon.